I am thrilled to be doing this potpourri of color therapy to share with this beautiful group of soul midwives. I have to tell you that the classes that we took with Felicity were just so inspiring. They touched my heart deeply because I got to know so many of you in the group. And when I talk about you, all of you, to my other practitioners or other people, I tell them that I think you guys don't have blood running through your veins, and you have honey. Because it requires this incredible depth of being and sweetness and compassion to sit with those that are in the death process. And before I start talking about the different tools that I use in color therapy or light therapy, I want to share a little bit about my own experience and my own journey with color. So I don't know, it must have been about 2007 when my husband was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer and he survived. Um, Somebody came to see me, and I was not an acupuncturist back then. I was just a regular accountant. And so this lady came to see me. She had breast cancer. And at the time, none of my gifts had really developed, or at least I thought. And she asked me if I would help her. And I said, absolutely. I said, but I can't give you any guarantees. I'm just gonna just my hands on top of you and, over you, and that's it. And so she came over, she laid on my table, the massage table. And immediately when she laid down, I knew that it was just gonna be a matter of time for her to go. She was around 50 years of age. She had two teenage kids, and all I could do was hold a deep space of love for her. And this is how my journey with color began. I would put my hands on her energy field, and I would start to hear this beautiful sound, like it sounded like angels. And then I would start to see this movement of color all over her. And at the time, I've always worked with crystals, so I would put crystals on top of her, just whatever I felt drawn to, whatever I felt that her body needed. And but it was like I was the orchestra conductor, because I just would put my hands and it just would go, the sound and the colors. So she came over for many treatments, and towards the end of her life, when she was in the hospital ready to cross over, her husband called me up and said she wants to see you. So I walked into the hospital room expecting, for her to be totally devastated, and instead I walked into the hospital room, and there was this woman filled with light. There was so much light in her eyes. Obviously, she was sad because she was leaving her children. And she grabbed my hands and said, "Thank you, because you showed me the way home." And when the thing is that I never discussed what she saw or what I saw. And on her deathbed, she told me that she would hear the choir of angels, and she could see the light that would come from my hands. And I think it's just, we're just the channels, right, of that light. And she said, "I know where I'm going. I'm going home. And I just want to thank you for what you did for me." And it was shocking to me because back then I was just an accountant, not knowing any of this stuff. And I just loved her. That's what I did. I loved every minute of it, of the time that I spent with her. And so years later, I went to acupuncture school, and I was invited to a color therapy weekend. And this is where I started to study color. And I started learning color from a couple from California that we then went to study with in Switzerland. And that's where I heard the monochord. And the first time I ever heard the monochord, it was like a choir of angels. And it was like my soul knew that sound, and my soul knew the colors. So whatever I'm going to show you today is just, right, an outer expression of what we have inside. And I know that you all know this, that we don't work alone. I'm very happy that Felicity talked about that when we are helping others in the death process, there are many beings from many different realms that are on this planet. And I've had the honor, the amazing experience that at the beginning of my journey in 2012, when I would play the monochord, I could literally see the essence of people. I could see where they came from. And I'm not talking about Pleiades or things like that. I don't, I don't know. I just know they're different realms of creation. And I want to tell you about one specific occasion. Um, these two women from France were visiting the United States, and they came to see me because, I don't know, somebody told them about me, and one of them spoke very little English, the other one just, a little bit more than the other. And so they walked in, and one of them, went first, and she laid down on my monochord bed. And as I started to play and play the monochord, so whenever I play the monochord, I see the movement of color. I see the light that is, if the body has very little light, it's like the chords, the sound activates the light within. And I started to journey with this woman, and I started to see that she was really tired. And I saw her surrounded with a lot of children. But what I saw was that it was like one of her angel wings was broken, and that she was exhausted. And then I started to see that she was actually an angel in the human form. And by the end of that session, I was crying because I was seeing so much beauty. And by the end of the session, she had like been restored. Her light body had been restored. And I finished, and she got up and she was crying. She barely spoke any English. And I called her partner over and I said, I want to give her a message. I want to ask her questions. I said to her, does she realize that she's an angel and that she's in this planet to help a lot of children? And her partner smiled at me and she said, she is a missionary nurse and she works in Africa. I get emotional every time I think about that moment, to have seen her essence. And I know that most of you are those angelics that help others. I also want to recommend a couple of books for you to read. One of them is Anna, the grandmother of Jesus, and the other one are the Anastasia books. Because in the first one, there's a lot of, they talk about a lot about light conception, and also when we leave the body. And in these books is where I find my confirmation of my own experiences. In Anastasia, that I just started that series of books, they talked about the ringing cedars. And it was one of the confirmations that I received, because one time out of my body, I had an experience that I was shown the other side of when we are helping somebody in the death process. I was taken to a different realm and I saw these huge trees sending their sound and sending their color. And I saw human angelics singing, giving the person that was in the death process the opportunity and, preparing them for the transition. So I know that you all know that we don't do this work alone. We have so many people assisting, so many beings, so many angels, all of creation. And all you have to do is just tap in and see them there. Even when I get taken out of my body to go help somebody in the birth process, or when somebody is, they're in an accident and they're not supposed to die. There are many angelics on the planet. There are many human beings that can leave the body and go assist other humans. I'm sure you've heard of the stories of where people will say, and out of nowhere, this person came and helped me. There's a divine order. There's a divine office that coordinates all of that. I just want to remind you that we never do this work alone. Never, never, ever, ever. There's a celestial army behind us. And with that, I want to start sharing about the different tools that I use in light and cryotherapy. And I'm just going to present everything. And I have collected all these things over the years. And there's different price points. And I will, at the end, I will give you all the links and the amazing teachers that I know. I've even asked some of the people in my community to share about their tools and how they use them. So I'm going to include those videos at the end so that you will know what you connect to. But what I will say is the most important part of this, of using color. I'm not even going to focus too much on the sound, but mainly on the color therapy. It is multi-purpose. Everything is always multi-purpose because I can go into the hospital room, put in a light, a solar gem, which I'll explain what those are. And that not only will help the person that's in the death process, but it's also going to help everybody else around. It's going to help the nurses, the other people in the hospital. And it's also going to support you, because that's another part that I want to address also in this, is the self-care that we have to do for ourselves when we sit with another in the death process. The amount of energy that we also give and receive. And I know Felicity talked a lot about this, about the self-care with light is really powerful, and it's really simple too. So I will begin with what I would say. So every tool that I'm going to present, you will know, you will connect to whatever it is that you'll say, oh, I resonate with that more than with the other one. And you use them at different stages of the death process, right? There's some things that, when somebody's at the very, very, very end, you're not going to put on a pair of colored glasses and talk about things that they still haven't expressed, right? So everything has its time and place, and you will know when to use it. So I'm going to begin with my favorite because they're so versatile. So these are my Solara gems. These are crystal fusion light. And basically inside of there's a formula of crystals. And for example, this is celestite, and this is one of my favorite ones to use when I go to the hospital. I just put the celestite in the room, and immediately it begins to shift the energy of the room. And when I tell you that, is not only that I feel it. So I don't know if anybody's familiar with the BioWell. So the BioWell is a Russian device that was developed by Dr. Porkov and his team of scientists. And what that measures is the energy field of the person through the fingers, but it also measures the energy field of a space. So since I have my left brain as an accountant, I also want to know, is this really working? And I have tested it with what they call the Sputnik, and I've tested the lights. What happens in my space? I usually measure it first, right, before putting on the device. I let it run for a few hours, and then I place, for example, the solar gems, and immediately you see a drop, meaning that where there was chaos, there's this beautiful, the energy just becomes harmonious, and people feel it when they walk in. So to me, these are a staple because it's not only supporting you, the person in the death process, it's also supporting the family members, the staff, the nurses, everybody that comes in there. They're all feeling it. They don't understand it, but they feel it. I have so many experiences with that I can I can make 3 videos out of that one. So in the Solara gems, there's a wide variety of crystal um, mixes, and there's different colors. You know, this is a yellow one. This is a magenta. So the basic ones that I use are rose quartz for the heart. I use also celestite, like I mentioned. I use amethyst, and depending also, like if I see there's if I sense that there's tension within the family dynamics, I will put in an emerald to bring harmony to groups, or turquoise. Now, because I love them so much, I have the entire collection. Because to me, they're like little keys uh, that open doors, that opens it opens the layers within the energy field. So to me, they're very versatile, multi-purpose, and I will put obviously the link at the end of the video on where you can buy them. And they're definitely an incredible investment because it's crystal fusion light, it's crystals, color, and light. And so you can also clear the space with them. Like, for example, Sleep 7 is another staple that I use because it's like what I call the monochord of the Solara gems, because it helps remove things from the energy field, and it also removes things from the space in the room. So those are the Solara gems. I also use the Beamer pen light, and Robert has done a beautiful video explaining it, because it's a system that uses oils, flower essences, crystals, and color, and that you use in the field of the person. And I asked Robert to make a short video, and I will add it at the end of the video. So he will explain how he uses or gives you an idea of how he uses the Beamer pen light in the death process. It's fascinating. I just got the system not too long ago, so I'm not too experienced with it. I still need to do some training with it. But my favorite part of the system is this. So let me, you can buy like these pendants, right? And these are the different vials, the different color combinations that you can add, and you can put it in your pendant. So it's like wearing your color therapy on you. And I have been really amazed how when people see it on me, they ask questions. It's like great conversation starter about color and what color does to the subconscious mind. And plus I just love wearing my angel with different colors, and I use it a little bit different. I kind of just pick a color, and then I figure out what the color's for, the combination, and it's like always right on with whatever I have going on in my life. But this is Robert trains. He's one of the teachers of the system, and you'll know more at the end of this video about this system. So it's called the Beamer pen light, and it's this gorgeous, gorgeous system. All right. So some of the other things that I do, so this is another, like I said, this I've collected over the years. So this is it's called the Moly Med. It is made in Switzerland, and it's very versatile because this is the one that I use. I don't know if you can see the color. This is the one that I use to work on the feet. So what I do is I grab some oils or essential oils, plus essential oils, and then I rub the feet in the different areas. And so not only am I using an essential oil, but I'm also using a different color depending on what the person has going on. And there's also training. I'll add the website for the Molly Med because you can also use the system with different attachments to touch different acupuncture points, very simple points like in the ear. Not that you would use red, but let me see. Let me pick another color. There. So, you can use it for different points without having to use needles and just, just very simple points that I'm happy to guide you with that. To settle, the energy, to settle anxiety. So this is another beautiful, not too expensive either, system that gives color, and it's very versatile. All right, next. Depending on, obviously, the situation, there is this other system by Rose Peterson, who lives in the state of Oregon, and she creates these beautiful mandalas, color mandalas. So this is a very easy way to introduce color. For example, if you're in a space where there's a window, you can hang this up and you can allow the light of the sun to penetrate through this to create like what they create in cathedrals. So Rose did a PhD in the cathedrals in Europe, and all the glass, and all these types of mandalas that are in the big cathedrals. There's a specific reason why they did it, why they use incense, why they use organs, right, and the pipe organs, and they use music. Because it opens up the heart of people, all that combination, the sound, the color, and the aroma. So it's just an idea. I have it, I have a lot of windows in my condo, so it's easy for me to hang them, and the sun comes in through that. And again, each one has a specific intention. There's like a series of 6 of them that she has, and it's subtle. It shifts people. It shifts the conversation. And it's the language of the subconscious mind. It's the language of the soul. So you can see that back there. I have 2 of them over there. I have her entire collection because I love her work. If appropriate, you can use color glasses to start a conversation. What I'm going to say is that all of these tools, the most important thing is for you to work with them first. So you see what it opens up inside of you. What ideas do you get? What realizations? Dream time. So just a simple change in the way we look at life through a different color can help shift a person in an issue, a problem, or open up creativity. So that's color glasses. I have many sets of those. These are also my favorite because these come from Germany. Dr. Wunsch, who's a specialist in light, created this set, and it can be used for, oh my gosh, all kinds of ailments. Not that I have used color glasses in the death process. I have not. But for you, to give you a different perspective as a practitioner is very, very helpful. All right. Next, I love working with silks because remember the senses, right? We have the hearing, the sight, the smell, and touch. So those that like touch usually love to feel the soft fabric, silk, and you can begin by a simple question: what's your favorite color? And you might be wear it as a scarf, or there's so many ways to work with the color silks. Children, especially children, love the color silks. But you can put it over the person, and I'm telling you, they see a different color, you begin a different conversation. So I have them in all kinds of colors. This is Neuroluz, and this was created by a psychologist who specializes in neuroscience. She's from Argentina, and she created a video that I translated because she doesn't speak English. So I had it dubbed so that you guys can easily listen to what she has to say. I absolutely love this. And in the video, she will address how to use this for somebody who's in the death process. And she's going to be creating some protocols if anybody is interested in this one, for the person that's dying. But more important, what she's mostly concerned about is what she calls the vicarious transmission, meaning we as practitioners, right, we are witnessing all this pain, we're witnessing all of these emotions, and we are basically also taking that on. So what she has found in years and years and years of working with patients and working with practitioners is that it begins to affect the body. People start getting inflammation in the body, the practitioners, and they start getting sick. And I know we can do our energetic cleansing, and I know most of you, all of you probably have some kind of protocol, right? To clear yourself, go to the ocean, go here, go there. But what she talks about is the effects that this has on our limbic brain. And the way that this is used is you put it in the ear like this. You turn it on. And there's many different protocols that you can do with this. But this, immediately you feel your energy begins to you start to melt with the light. And because it's using a part of the ear that touches the brain, the limbic part of the brain, it helps the body to release the stress from the areas that we don't really reach, but that light can reach. And I personally used this one with my dear friend of mine who passed away last year. And I was with him from beginning to end. And I would put these on him, and I would ask him, he had a lot of unresolved relationships. And he wasn't going to call any of those people. So what I had him do was I had him put these on and then have a conversation with the person of what he wanted to say. And I would play my monochord, my instrument, which I will put a video at the end. I know some of you have seen it, but some of you have not, because I use sound and color in the death process. And I would play the monochord, and he would sit there and he would put the light on, and he would begin to, have these conversations with the people of the things that he left unsaid, or things that, things that were left unsaid. And I could see it, you have to pay attention, right? And I could see from the movement of the eyes when, he was processing, and then all of a sudden it just would start to like just let go, and I would see his body release. This is very powerful, not only for the person that's going through the death process, but it's also very powerful for us to take care of ourselves, to take care of our nervous system, because obviously this is also going in the vagus nerve. And that color that is in this light, it's got only this one color, has been researched that is one of the best colors for emotional issues. So this is called Neuroluz, and I will have also her video at the end. Let's see. I also use another system, and this is from a company in Europe, and it's called Seratelec. And now this is really more for practitioners, because you use this in acupuncture, for different parts of the body. You can use the beamer pen light also, but this has frequency in it, the Nogier frequencies, that can also help if somebody's got a lot of pain. This is very good, with that. You do need training with this one. And I know two wonderful trainers. One is from Denmark, Rikke, and Dr. Vidal, Pascal Vidal, who is from France, and which I'm currently taking his training. So this is another light system. Let me see what else. I put everything out here so that I don't forget. So this is a system called colornostics. One of the creators is a very good friend of mine. Her name is Thelma, and she uses NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, and color. Fantastic work. And I would say that this can be used obviously for yourself. And if you're, it's got like a set of questions, and then based on the color combination, then you start getting different, aspects of a situation. And I would say that this is something that can be used with somebody in the early stages, when they're willing to open up and talk or try to resolve things. So it has different, it's got all the colors. I used to be a teacher of neurolinguistic programming, and when I saw this, I was like, oh my God, wow, this is just fantastic. And Thelma also does some beautiful meditations of color, because, some people will say, but I don't need any of these tools. I can just download the color. Yeah, you can. Absolutely. At the end of the day, we are the ones that activate all these tools. And, but she's got these wonderful meditations with color that you can walk somebody through, that, you might just put it on and have them be engulfed in a color. And you can also, this is another system. Now, the colornostic systems is from New Zealand. And this is another system that uses aromatherapy and color. It's called Drops of Life. Again, this could be also for self-care, and it combines color with essential oils, and it's fantastic also. If I'm not mistaken, I think the system is from Australia. Yeah, and they have beautiful color meditations too. All right, so I don't want to forget anything. Goodness. Yeah, oh, well, and the last one, you can always use crystals. Crystals are the ancient AI technology. They're the, solidified light, and they hold the information of the earth and of the stars. And when your heart is humble and pure, and you are in service to others, they open up They're very talkative. You can even assign one crystal, for example, that you use that can hold the space for the person, and you can even put them on them. Obviously, it depends on the person, right? It depends on the situation. I'm just giving you different, I don't know, different perspectives, different tools that you can use. I also love using tuning forks, and you can't hear them, I know, because of the Zoom. Um, but this is also very relaxing. This is CNG, and this, again, opens up the pathways. I usually begin with sound too before I start working with color. I will use tuning forks because that settles the mind, and it also anchors the moment. So when my patients use hear the sound, immediately they just settle because they know that what comes next is just amazing and beautiful. So it's anchoring, right? The person in the moment. Um, I think that is it in terms of the color tools. Um, so the last thing that I want to leave you with is these tools, not only, like I mentioned before, hold the space for the person, but also holds the space for the people that are in the environment. And I know you all work with the sacred oils, which is even stronger than than anything else, because it's the pureness of the earth. It's her love, it's her nectars. And I once went out. I was called out to help a friend of mine who was going through cancer, and her friends thought that it was really, this was it. And they asked me, you better come say goodbye to her. So the most important thing that I'm going to say about this is that we all develop a language with creation. It's our relationship, right, with the divine. And because we're all so unique, and we each have a gift that it's just unique. Pay attention to the subtleties, the signs, because that's how you begin to develop that communication. And so in my journey of assisting others in the death process, when I sit with the monocorde, I will either have a silk on the person, or I will have a Solara gem, because I can leave it on. I don't have to be holding, right, anything. Or I'll put on a crystal and I'll start to play the monocorde. So what I have, my language over the years with both sound and color, is that, when I begin to play for somebody in the death process, I kind of immediately, not immediately, but pretty soon know how much time a person has left in general. And I always go without any expectations, because, it's better not to have any expectations. It's better to just be surprised. And so when I play, and if I see portals of light open, I know that they're closer. And I begin to see flowers. I begin to, it's usually related to nature. And so, and I know where the person in the process is at, depending on the different signs that I have developed my own dictionary. And like that, I'm going to go back to that time that I got called out to the hospital, because supposedly she was, it was pretty bad. When I walked in, and I left my monocorde out because I didn't know how receptive she was going to be. And she said, it's okay, Vanessa, play the monochord because I know that that you can see. And this was a friend, and so I was kind of like, okay, I'll play the monochord. But yeah, she was in pretty bad shape. Her heart was like at 40. It was just, she wasn't eating. So she woke up and I was there, and she says, bring your monochord. So I brought in my monochord and I began to play and play. And, but this time it was different. She fell asleep, and instead of seeing portals of light open, I saw a fountain of water wash over her. And as I was playing and feeling this incredible love that came from the waters of heaven, the waters of life, it was this luminous water. And that I had never experienced. It was luminous water that was washing over her, washing her, washing her. And it's very powerful to feel that, because it's what we're channeling, right? It's coming through us. And I finished playing. I was crying because I knew it wasn't her time. And so she woke up and she opened her eyes and she says, so I said, it's not your time. And soon thereafter, she recovered and she's still around. But that was my visual, right? That was my own dictionary. So I want to leave you with that, because developing that communication with creation is it's your book. It's your own dictionary. And as I was playing my monochord, and as I and I didn't have the solar gems back then, but I had another set of lights that I don't work with anymore. And one of the violet light was on her. And as I was playing and playing, I can normally expand out a little bit, like further outside of the room, outside of the building. And I started to see these waves going through the hospital and going through the immediate surroundings. And so when I went home, and my friend that was waiting out in the waiting room, she said, I saw the waves, and you were not only helping her, you were also helping every patient that was on the floor. And it's like when you see it, but when you get the confirmation, is like, wow, thank you for allowing me to be in that space, to bring a lot of love and harmony and balance to others. So light, color, and sound is like playing pool, billiards. I don't know, I think that's how you say it in England. It's like playing pool, right? You hit that 8 ball, you send that wave or that light to that black ball, but that black ball touches so many aspects that we cannot even imagine. Sometimes I don't want to know, because it's like, wow, okay. And I'm just thankful. But know that when you work with sound and when you work with color and light, you are touching many layers of a human being, many layers of the environment, of yourself, of creation. And it becomes this amazing celebration that brings this deep, profound healing on levels that they blow my mind. When I'm in the hospital, when I've assisted people in the death process in the hospital, and I sit and play my monochord, I usually will have a bunch of nurses at the door, because they're also receiving the sound of the monochord, the light, and the aromas, and the sacred oils. So it's multi-purpose. So know that this work is exponential. It ripples through time and space. And it just is divine. So, if you have any questions, if I can be of any guidance in any of the systems that I have shown you, I am happy to also point you to many different teachers that I have had. There's a beautiful woman in England, Teresa Sant. She also has a beautiful light system that I could not find it, so I couldn't show it. But I am happy to provide you with all the links. And may your journey with sound, with light, with color be a blessing to you and to the lives of those that you touch. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I hope you're all doing well. Well, it's a pleasure for me to be able to give my humble opinion and recommendation on how to help someone in the process of transitioning of changing state. My name is Jimena Sirera, and I am the creator of Neuroluz, which comes from a technique developed by several doctors regarding the power of light. On this occasion, Vanessa Cisneros, my beautiful great friend and the creator of all this. And she's the one behind this wonderful group where colleagues support each other. And I think she has it, unless I'm told otherwise. Okay, the first thing we do is turn it on. She'll also explain where and how you're going to use it, okay? You use it this way, okay? All right, now what are we doing? Before understanding from neurobiology what we're doing, I want to share what I feel is related to the process of departing, right? I've been a student of the Torah for many years, and the Torah says that we die when we've rectified everything we needed to rectify, or when we no longer have the possibility to rectify. And when that person is suffering a lot and the body doesn't completely shut down, right? It's like, to speak humbly, it's as if there's a struggle, right? Between the most egoic part, the necessary construction to survive, and our soul, because our soul always wants to return home. It knows that's the place, right? Where everything is okay. And besides, it's part of the process. So the Neuroluz, in this case, what it does is when I place it on the limbic system, but also as a health professional, because there's something called vicarious trauma, which is through afferent pathways, meaning through the 5 senses. It's what I'm seeing, what I'm hearing, what I'm feeling, what my peripheral system is feeling. I'm also being traumatized as a professional, the person taking care of the patient, the husband, the uncle, etc. So the Neuroluz is bilateral. We, as healthcare professionals, are going to use it ourselves and help that person transition. For me, the best thing you can do is place the light and tell them in their ear to think about all the things they want to let go of, right? And you, according to how you want to say it, or according to your idiosyncrasy, your religion, etc., can tell them, go ahead, if you're going to reincarnate, at least don't reincarnate with this, right? Those acts of forgiveness, those, let go of those feelings of guilt. Release any thought, situation, or circumstance that continues to hurt me, right? That keeps me anchored here on earth, because in all those moments, there was no love from another, no self-love, right? On the other hand, I believe that simply placing the light and letting the limbic system be illuminated also does the process, because we're working with an afferent part of the vagus nerve. So just place it there, ask them if they can speak, to tell us what their fears are. What is left unresolved for them? And if they're in a coma, simply place it and hold their hand, if you can, and tell them that it's done, that their whole body is free to take the next step, right? So Neuroluz has a slogan that is, the light enters where the root asks for it. So I trust in your intention to place the light and let the body itself in communion with the soul that is there, right? Like leaving and not leaving the plane to return home, do what you need to do. Don't forget about yourselves as companions, because your mind can be very well. You can be great, highly functional, and your body can be deteriorated. You may not be sleeping well. You may be gaining or losing weight. You may feel apathy. You may feel, the body starts to show some signs of not feeling well, because vicarious trauma generates two very important things for me. First, it changes our view of life. And second, it inflames our body. So, yeah. I wish it helps all of you and all the people and souls you touch with this art, right? To help you get back home. Kisses, hugs, and I'm here for whatever you need.
Okay, welcome. So today I would like to talk about how we can help transition people out of life with the colors of the Beamer Light pen. Okay, so what we use for this is what we call the childcare set. So this is a set of color combinations that we use for the outer child, the physical child, and the inner child. We use the same kind of set for helping people transitioning out of life. Transitioning into life, birth. Transitioning out of life, death. The two very important reference point of human life. You might not be familiar with the Beamer Light pen, so this is a pen where we insert vials that contain colored energized solutions, herbs and so on, and then we produce a light beam. And then we use this light beam in the auric field, on the chakra, on specific points, and so on. Okay, so here we have different color combinations that really help the what we call the transitioning process. At this point, I'd also like to remind you that we have actually a one-day seminar called Transitioning, which is about helping people transition into life and out of life. When we talk helping people about transitioning into life and out of life, what we're really talking about are the 48 hours before birth, the 48 hours after death. These are crucial. You know, if you look at the literature we have, you know, about death, especially the most prominent one being the Tibetan Book of Death, then what does the Tibetan Book of Death tell us about death itself? And the Padododol, what is called the after-death process. So basically there are three phases. Phase one is the moment of death. The moment of death is crucial. So if in the moment of death consciousness recognizes itself in the brilliant light that will be presented, then that's it. That's the maximum full attainment, okay? Total liberation. You don't need to do any work because all the work has been done by existence itself, okay? So now naturally this will be 1 in a million or in a billion or I don't know what, so it's not what will happen with normal people like you and me, okay? Normal people like you and me, we will transition out of life into a transitional phase, and we will transition into another incarnation probably, okay? So what happens, what the Tibetan Book of Death describes is that if you, let's say, if you miss the moment of death, you don't get enlightened or you don't move to your maximum potential, then you will be presented with very different very powerful energies which will present themselves as colored light. So then we can use the colored light to support the person in that process. You know, I don't know whether you've ever been with a, let's say, dead person. You know, once the last breath has been breathed, then you really perceive how the body, the soul continues its process. You know, because the most material aspects will leave first, right? The atoms will disintegrate and all that stuff, but the more subtle substances, the more subtle energies, they will take time to leave. And we can support this process with a colored light, okay? So depending on the phase we are in, we're gonna use the pink, we're gonna use the violet, we're gonna use the royal blue together with the magenta. So if you want to know more about that, come to our one-day seminar. It's not a big investment, okay? It will be in September most probably. Actually, today is the 21st of June, so it's the solstice of summer. So I think it's a good moment to talk about transitioning. You know? The transition, just as birth and death are one of the two big taboos in the human existence, and nobody really likes to talk about them, especially death, you know. So, but it's really, these are crucial moments. Just like the birth experience and the birth process will determine the whole experience you will have in the physical reality, the same way the death experience will determine the whole experience you will have in the non-physical reality. So death really needs to be treated with respect. We need to support the transition of the soul. You know, it's not the transition. It's not that the soul splits like this into the body, like this out of the body. Now, even the moment of death, we don't know how long exactly it's take. You know, I used to be a brain surgeon, so I came from brain surgeries. Okay, so intensive care. You know, we had a lot of people being between life and death, and some people transitioned into death. Some people transitioned into life. You really, to determine the moment of death is not so easy, okay? So it's not like a fixed point. It is a transition. We can support the transition, so make the transition smooth. Not only after this, also before this. You know, before this also we can use the beamer light pen to allow the different aspects of the soul that have been densified through experiences and things like that, life experience, trauma, whatever is there, to dissolve, to become smooth, allowing the process of let go, to really allow the process of let go to be as complete as possible. So the soul doesn't leave any baggage behind. That's important. That the soul can really move into a complete transition, really leaving the body behind and moving in the complete transition of the new dimension of the Bhadra Total, the unincarnated reality. So the beamer light pen is a beautiful instrument to support that. If you want to know more, have a look at our website or send us an email. Really, from our experience, is one of the most effective tools to help in the subtle realms. Okay, thank you. Bye.